Hello dosto, welcome to the second lecture of the IR series, and today we will talk about important rivers and lakes of the Africa, because Africa region is UPSC's favorite region, and UPSC has been consistently asking questions on some of the physical features of the Africa, important regions in the Africa, conflict prone regions of the Africa, lakes of the Africa. So from that perspective, Africa region becomes important, and there are news in recent past about certain lakes and rivers which are facing climatic challenges, some overpopulation or some environmental threats, right? So from that perspective of Africa's region becomes important. So recent में you can see the news are there about Lake Chad, which is drying up very fast, and there is Africa's biggest crocodile habitat, which is located in the Konya, which is also facing climatic threats or it's shrinking very fast. And then there is a lake in the Iran called Lake Urmia, right, which is shrinking since 1995 due to combination of prolonged drought and extraction water over exploitation, and people are protesting about it, and government is cracking down heavily on those protests, right? Again, Lake Titicaca in the South America, which is also facing drought like conditions. So, and UPSC in the recent past asking about the lakes that are drying due to climates, due to overpopulation, due to over exploitation, right? From that perspective, this lecture becomes very important, and I would suggest you to listen to this lecture to the very end, because it is going to add a lot of value to your preparation. So let us start from the important rivers of the Africa. So we know पास्ट में कुछ पेपर्स में यूपीएससी ने रिवर झांबेजी के बारे में पूछा था. सो झांबेजी रिवर, सो यूपीएससी ने पूछा था कि झांबेजी रिवर कहाँ पे ड्रेन होती है, राइट? सो झांबेजी रिवर ड्रेन्स इनटू द इंडियन ओशियन. सो दिस इज वेयर झांबेजी रिवर ड्रेन्स, एंड इट हैज़ ओरिजिन इन डीआरसी रीजन, डेमोक्रेटिक रिपब्लिक ऑफ कॉन्गो. एंड लास्ट लेक्चर में हमने देखा था कि इस रीजन में कटांगा जाम्बिया बेल्ट है, जो 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 बहुत ही रिसोर्स रिच जोन है, राइट? Again, in this region also the Congo river originate, and it flows through and cuts, right? It cuts equator twice and drains into Atlantic Ocean, and here it doesn't make delta. Remember, river Congo Atlantic Ocean में delta नहीं बनाती, because it flows very fast, and its flow is very fast such that it cuts into continental shelf of the Africa, and जो भी sediment वो अपने साथ लाती वो it flows deep into ocean, right? And because of that यहाँ पे वो delta नहीं बनाती. Then we have river which is called as Niger River, which originate in the Guinea, which is known as Guinea Highlands, and then it flows through the Mali and then back to the Nigeria and makes a very big delta which is called as Niger Delta. And north of this Niger River, here in the Mali, there is a Lake Foggy-Vine, which has been drying up since 1970, right? So these are the important rivers of the Africa. So remember, the Congo River is largest, second largest river in the Africa. Niger River is third largest river in the Africa, and at this location there is a second largest rainforest in the world. Remember, first largest rainforest in the world is Amazon rainforest, second largest rainforest is Congo rainforest, and you have to tell me, आपको बताना है कि third largest rainforest कहाँ पे है. So remember, you have to tell me in the comment section where is the third largest rainforest in the world, right? So let's move to the next slide. Now we have Lake Chad, right? So we talk about the Lake Chad. Lake Chad is Africa's, it was one of the biggest lake in Africa, but now it is shrinking very fast. Look at this diagram. So it was such a big lake, right, in the before 1972. After that, drought-like condition occurred in Africa, and from that time, this lake is shrinking very fast. Look at, now it has become to this size. So it was said that in the past, around 22,000 years ago, it was 3 times largest than Lake Victoria. Right now, Lake Victoria is the largest lake in Africa. So 22,000 साल पहले ये सबसे largest था, and it was 6th largest in the world, right? But now it is shrinking very fast. Look at this lake. It is surrounded by 4 countries: Niger, Chad, Nigeria, and Cameroon. And in the vicinity, in the north Nigeria, there is a famous terrorist organization or a militant group known as Boko Haram, right? This militant group is trying to topple the secular government of the Nigeria to establish Islamic rule, and it is difficult to track them down because the Lake Chad area is a very swampy area, and it is full of bushes and trees and woodland, and because of it provides effective hideouts for the militant group, and because of that it is difficult to track them down and eliminate that, right? So remember, and NASA says that, but if the current rate of recession continues in the next 20 years, this lake will disappear. So this was about Lake Chad in the Africa. Now let us see. So the lake has been shrink 90% since 1960s, and now it supports, because why the lake important? Because it was supporting livelihood for 30 million people, and now it becomes problematic if this lake shrinks completely, right? So let us see the another lake which is very important, which is called as Lake Fogubine. Lake Fogubine west of the Africa है इस region में, and it is in Mali, and you can see that Lake Fogubine is entirely dry in 2021. So Lake Fogubine UPSC ने लास्ट ईयर में पूछा था कि कौन सा लेक अब अफ्रीका में ड्राई हो चुका है. सो दिस इज द आंसर टू दैट क्वेश्चन वाज लेक फॉग्यूबाइन. It found in the Machina depression of the Niger of the Mali. So Machina depression is one depression in the Mali. So in that depression you can find this Lake Fogubine, and it has been drying since 1970 or 80. The famous event is called as Sahel drought. Since that time this Lake Fogubine is drying very fast, right? So remember this Lake Fogubine, and this is in Mali. Now let's start with Lake Victoria. As we saw, Lake Victoria is one of the largest lake in the Africa, and it is surrounded by the Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania, and below that we have famous lake we will talk about this lake later, and that we have Lake Malawi. It is also called as Lake Nyasa, and Lake Nyasa is 5th largest freshwater lake in the Africa, and it is surrounded by the Malawi, Mozambique and Tanzania. This lake is not dry. Remember, so it will be good for you to eliminate. If UPSC asks is Lake Malawi drying, no, this is not drying. This lake has enough water to support livelihood around this region. Now this Lake Victoria was main source of Nile River. Remember, right? We talk about this, and it has. So why is this Lake Victoria becomes important? Because 70 to 80% of the forest in the Lake Victoria vicinity has been vanished, and name of the Lake Victoria is given by John Hanning, who was British explorer at that time, and it is one of the largest freshwater fisheries happens in Lake Victoria, and this is not drying. So remember, Lake Victoria is not drying. And next lake let's talk about next lake, Tanganyika. It is surrounded by Tanzania, DRC, Burundi and Zambia. So this is the lake Tanganyika, and it is second deepest lake after Lake Baikal, and it is part of the famous African Rift Valley. Remember this, and it is providing livelihood to 10 million people in the African region, and it is drained by the river Malagarsi, Ruzizi and river Kalambo, and this lake is also now drying. Now let's talk about important regions in the Africa. This is called as Sahel region. Sahel region is a transition zone between the Great Sahara Desert and African savanna. So this is a transition zone, and this is very resource rich region, and according to UN organization, this region has very high potential for solar energy. So from that perspective, this region becomes very important, and it is ecological transition zone between desert and between savanna, and it has great potential for renewable energy. But issues facing by the Sahel region is climate change, conflict and overpopulation. Because of that, this region has become this region is facing this problem. The livelihood of people are becoming stressed, and it provides, because of that, around 3.7 million people have been internally displaced. Now there is a lake Volta, which is in Ghana. This is the location of the lake Volta, and this is one of the largest man-made lake fed by the river Black Volta and White Volta. So this has dendritic appearance, जैसे कि ट्री के जैसा लगता है. This has dendritic appearance fed by the white volta and black volta, and on this river there is a famous dam, Okosombo Dam, and it is because of that there is a largest man-made lake which has largest area surface wise, which has largest water area surface wise. So around Ghana we have Burkina Faso. In the recent past, Burkina Faso suffered by the military coup. Because of that, this region becomes important, and it has fragile state index 38, which means it is less stable. It comes in the less stable category. And fragile state index released by the Fund for Peace, which is US humanitarian organization. It is an organization in USA which is which releases this fragile state index. And below that we have just west of Ghana we have Ivory Coast. We know the Ivory Coast, which is famous for, which is largest production house for the cocoa seeds. Cocoa is used for coffee production, right? And which has this Ivory Coast has fragile state index 35, which means it is moderately stable. So this is Ivory Coast. Now let us look at the glance. Let us take a glance at what we saw. We saw Lake Chad, which is surrounded by the 4 countries. We have Lake Tana, this is source of Blue Nile, and Lake Victoria is the source of White Nile. And then we have Lake Tanganyika, which is second deepest lake in the world after Lake Baikal. Lake Baikal is in Russia. Lake Nyasa, which is also called as Lake Malawi. Right, and we saw in this Democratic Republic of Congo the famous rainforest in the world, second rainforest in the world. You have to tell me where is the third rainforest in the world. So now let us see some of the few questions that UPSC ask in the back. So ask about which lakes have been shrinking or dried up in the recent past. It talks about Aral Sea, Black Sea, Lake Baikal. We know that Black Sea, Lake Baikal is not drying, but Aral Sea is drying very fast. So answer to this question becomes 1. Then there is a Lake Chad. It was asking about the country Chad. As I said, the African region is famous for rebels and coups, right? So this is not correct in that, at least. Now we talk about Lake Victoria, we will talk about Lake Foggyvine, we talk about Lake Oguta, we talk about Lake Volta. So in this lecture we covered most important lakes of the Africa, so that you should have knowledge about which lakes are drying fast, which lakes are facing environmental crisis, which lakes are facing humanitarian crisis, right? So from that perspective this lecture becomes important. अगर आपको ये लेक्चर पसंद आया तो ज़रूर लाइक करना.